Welcome to our studios here at the ATL. It is game time. Live on a Monday evening. Casey Stern, Candace Parker, the whole thing. Isaiah.
What's happening?
Wow. We haven't worked together in a while.
It's been a minute. It's been, what, March, April?
Yeah, since March when I took all your money. It was...
You know what? That's why you didn't want to talk about the game today.
What do you mean the
That's
game?
why you ran from the game today.
What game?
Football
Is
game.
that one where she was crying?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
That was the one that went viral.
Right.
I didn't see it.
That's all right.
You know, I just heard that.
No, it's
It's
okay.
okay, but you see Tennessee's number 3 now.
Right. No,
Oh, but you see that.
Yeah, no, we're really concentrating on that. So back to reality here. No, there's a lot to talk about clearly because we've got some stars that are showing out, like James Harden. We've got some situations, like in Minnesota, where I feel like we get Dr. Phil on set. He can join us. We can try and kind of figure out what the heck is going on with all of that. This season's been weird, right? Like when you sit there and you look at the Western Conference, for example, we sit there and we look at it. We're going to show the power rankings from John Schumann, who definitely had more fun on New Year's than I had, based on the way his power rankings are. But I think it shows you just how topsy-turvy it is. So let me start with a doozy. If I told you Golden State's in the conference final, and you had to pick one Western Conference team you think that's their toughest test as far as you see right now, you would pick who in the West?
Oklahoma City Thunder.
Okay, why?
I think the way that Paul George is playing right now and the way that Russell is allowing him to play. You know, I think that Russell needs that Robin, and he needs to play. I mean, Russell, we know eventually he's going to hit shots. I don't know whether he's injured or not. But how talented that team is on the defensive end, as well as adding Paul George to an already unstoppable Russell Westbrook, their ability to switch everything across the board, I think they give Golden State problems.
And they play defense, and their supporting cast members all play defense. When you think about what Grant's done, Zeke, and you think of Adams, my question is, when you look at Oklahoma City, do they need another shooter? Right? One shooter? When you get to the deadline, they got enough shooting right now from the outside for you?
They have enough defense, you know, and they can score off their defense. They're very opportunistic. So if you're a good defensive team and you can defend the perimeter, you can defend the three-point shot the way they can right now, then they have a chance, you know, because this is what we know about Russ. He takes that matchup against Steph personally. So offensively, I think he'll be able to score. I think George will be able to score defensively, and I think they can shut people down. I didn't know how Russ would come back off of this. Is it his 4th knee surgery or 5th knee surgery? Whichever one it was. I didn't know if he would be able to come back after missing so many games at the start of the season. I thought the West would be a lot tougher than it's been. So I didn't know if OKC could make up the room and catch up to the rest of the pack. But not only have they done that, but they've surpassed it.
Need toughness. We know they have it.
Deadline, you always have to be trying to improve your team, because I can guarantee you this. If there's a deal out there for Golden State to make, they're going to make it, and they're going to try to improve their team. I mean, everyone is going to try to get better. So Houston, you can't stay pat just the way you are. You got to be a player, you know, at the trade deadline. Or at least try to be.
Yes, and look, and sometimes it's that smaller move. You think about Philly last year, Ilyasova, Bellinelli, those types. Sometimes it's the small piece. On Denver, look, you give up a lot of points. Their defense can be very, very inconsistent. You got to give love to Monty Morris. For anybody who watched him in college, I loved him at Iowa State. This guy had the best turnover assist ratio in the nation. He's been that kind of player here. Denver's been looking for point guard, kind of sneaky how he's come in 9 of 13 with 21 points. But let's talk about the Nuggets. They've had big runs. They got off to the great start this season. But when I have these conversations, doesn't matter who's in here. I hear Houston. I hear Oklahoma City. I hear, well, if LeBron comes back in time and then Denver's kind of like just this team that like is going to get a nice seed and win. Almost, I hate to say this, the way that the team here when they won 60, Atlanta was handled for years in the East, you'd pick someone else. Can Denver be a dangerous team, do you think, as this year moves forward?
I think the question mark is if they can insert players that have been injured back into the system. Because as we've learned with Boston, more does not equal more wins.
Hell yeah.
You know, when you're inserting a Will Barton who basically had a great offseason, came in shape, got injured. When you insert him back into the lineup, how does that change things for Jokic with him having the ball in his hand? There's a lot of question marks, I think, with Denver. And I think they're going to be a top seed, but in terms of contention, I don't put them there yet.
Yeah, and they're new to the dance. Even though they've been building and we've been, monitoring and watching their slow progress over the years, but now they're here. But we still haven't seen them, on the big stage. So consequently, you always go with the team that's proven or the players that have proven. But at the same time, you're looking at Denver and you're saying, yeah, you're having a great season. Love the way you're playing. But I need to see you in the playoffs before I can buy into you. They're great. They've been a great regular season team. I think Mike Malone, candidate, coach of the year.
Great job. Yep.
But now we need to see you at the big dance. Now you're invited to the dance. Let's see if you can really dance.
And they got some shot makers. They've got guys who could certainly go put up some points. Speaking of which, Houston Rockets and the Denver Nuggets are game of the night. Rockets win at 125-113. The stretch of 35 points each timeout for James Harden ends, settles for, and I say that jokingly, 32, 14, and 5 on a big night. But enough about that. Our next guest, we'll find out if he's entering the three-point competition coming up in Charlotte. As we welcome in P.J. Tucker, who knocked down 7 of them in 11 tries. P.J., first of all, congrats on the W. For you, talk about how good it feels. You do so many things to help out the team, but to feel it like you did from deep tonight.
Man, it was a blessing. It's crazy. Every night here is different. The way James is rolling, you just kind of fill in spots. Everybody just do their job, play their role. He gets it going. He gets our offense fueled. So, one night you might get 10, 11 shots. One night you might not get but 1 or 2. But it's just playing the same way every single game.
PJ, you've had to adjust to that in terms of, sometimes you get 1 shot, sometimes you get 10 shots, and you've always focused on your defense. And you've always been a solid player. My question to you is, when all of you were down a couple of weeks ago, and you were there in 15 teams in the West, you were at 14, what did y'all do to rally around each other? What were the conversations that were had to get y'all back on track and to get everybody feeling this good and playing this well?
Zig, it's interesting you say that because it's one of those things where we got a new team this year. Everybody always talk about last year. We got a whole new team this year. We got a lot of new guys. When we got down early, we just encouraged all the new guys to keep on pushing. At the end of the day, every time you look at games, everybody's beating everybody in the NBA early. Even though we were like 14th or whatever we were still like 5 or 6 games out of second and third. Like, it was crazy. So it was one of those things we just kept looking at and just told everybody just kept chipping away. And really, honestly, all the injuries, all the things we've had going on all year, we've had guys from the D-League. We've had a lot of stuff going on, but everybody just came in and do what we wanted. So it's just trying to stay focused all 82 games. It's a long season.
As fans, we all watched James Harden obviously over this last month do incredible things. Can you talk to us about, as a teammate, to witness that firsthand and be a part of basically history?
That's crazy. I'm not gonna lie. It's one of those things. Last year, he did some crazy stuff last year, but seeing him on that streak, that was amazing. Some of the shots, some of the plays he was making, he does a lot of that every night, but it was to the max. So it's one of those things where you, as a fan, you kind of, as a player, you're still a fan, and the way you get to watch your teammates and somebody you respect and you play with every day, just do something that he's doing. It's incredible.
Now, PJ, you've had a chance to play with, arguably 2 of the greatest offensive players of this generation, in terms of Kevin Durant when you were, in college, and also now with James Harden. What do those 2 guys do in practice that we don't see that you can share with us that has made them so effective? And are there similarities?
That's tough. You know what? They 2 of the probably best offensive players I've ever played with and against ever seen, maybe. One thing I will say, I know JH, every single day, he is the last one to leave the gym. Like, he gets his routine in, no matter we on a back-to-back, no matter, if he's tired, if he's hurt, like, he gets his routine in. So those shots you see him make at the end of games and behind the screens and splitting people and step backs. He practices that stuff every single day, and I'm in there with him, and it's amazing. And in the summertime, he's doing that same stuff all the time. So, for me, just being around him so much, to see him actually do it in games, I know he can make it, and I try to get him open as much as I can because I know he can do it. Just seeing him do it every single day, so it's pretty incredible. And Katie's the same way.
PJ, I got to ask you before we let you run, because you guys have so much talent on this team, obviously went as deep as you did last year, and it's still somehow, and it's hard to say underrated because I know he got paid to stay with the team, but Clint has a career high, 31 points tonight, and I always talk about the fact that I don't think people give enough credit to all the things he does to make everybody better. So for those who don't maybe understand the importance of Capella, can you give us a sense as a teammate of why it's so imperative that he's a part of this basketball team?
It's funny. I always talk about it. Nobody talks about Clint. Like Clint is he's the part of our team that nobody talks about, but is probably the most important part. I mean, everybody, obviously James does so much, Chris does so much, but we honestly got a big three because Clint Capella, every single night. I mean, the way he monsters the boards, the way he catches our lobs, he has great hands, the way he makes plays in the pocket when they double James. Just makes real good decisions. His energy, running the floor every night, he just brings another aspect that I don't think any other big in the league actually can do like he does every single night.
On the way out, tougher to defend James in practice or to match up with his attire entering the arena every night?
Definitely harder to guard him in practice.
PJ, appreciate it, man. Thanks, bro.
Hey, I want them shoes, man. I'm for real,
Hey,
man.
Zeke, I'm going to keep them shoes for you. Zeke, they're yours.
I'll be there to do a game. I'm going to ask you for them.
They're going to be in my locker.
I'm going to be my 12-year-old self again. Hey, PJ, can I get them shoes?
Done deal.
All right, PJ, be good, man. That's PJ Tucker.
Thanks,
and this team has the one thing you got to be fair with. They're resilient. Say what you want about whether or not you dribble too much, or you like the way everybody's got their own comments, Zeke, about how the Rockets are. They dealt with a lot of injuries. A lot of people saying no. They had the whole Melo situation, which it seemed like kind of a train wreck, just didn't work. They've shown a lot of resilience, right? I know James has played great, but you look at it, really everybody's stepped up now for this team.
Well, when you talk about his resilience and perseverance, and you hear P.J. Tucker talk about his hard work and work ethic, a lot of times we sit and we watch and we just marvel at, guys like him, guys like Steph, guys like Durant, but we don't see how much work they put into their craft. And to hear him talk that way about James Harden, because I'm used to seeing him doing this and just having fun out on the floor, but to hear him talk about how he's the first one in, the last one to leave, even on back-to-backs, getting his work in every time. He's setting a good example for that team. And as he said, we had a lot of new guys to come in, and we had to keep encouraging them. Now, if your best player isn't showing up for practice and working and setting that example in terms of a work ethic, those new guys, when you down on the bottom, they're going to have a hard time getting back up. So you have to give Harden a lot of credit for just showing up the way he practices and the way he goes about doing his business.
Now, you guys know this as stars. I mean, it's funny because I think about the handles, right? There's a lot of work in the gym you don't see, the amount of shots that are put up and all those sorts of things. And I think because of some of the brash nature of James, right? I mean, people kind of think it's all show. You don't just wake up and be able to play like that, clearly. So sometimes we shouldn't, but we need to almost hear it from a teammate, which is why it's a good question. So the people who look at it they think, okay, well, he gets fouls he shouldn't get. Well, that's great, but what about all the other things he did? The shot against Golden State, that didn't happen by accident. You practice those sorts of things for that moment, right?
Well, I look at it like a perfect storm. I mean, he has the natural abilities,
right,
but then to put in the time and the effort and the energy to be the first one in the gym. And we were talking in break, it's practice.
Yep.
It's practice where you gain your teammates' respects. And that's what he's done. I mean, you hear the way PJ talks about him. In practice, having to defend him. In practice, walking in and seeing him get up those shots. I mean, that's commendable, and I think he's definitely put this team on his back because nobody expected.
Seen him doing it in the summer, he said.
Yeah.
Hey, look, if you can't show loyalty with hard work, you can always show it by putting your team's logo or something like it in your hair. For